Shocking 11-minute prayer, unlock deep healing pain relief like never before. Do this now. The church bell tolled ominously, its echoes wrapping around the small town like a thick shroud of fog. It was early morning, and the air felt heavy, almost electric, as if it buzzed with secrets waiting to be uncovered. Today, whispers of miraculous healing and long-lost hopes drifted through the streets like specters. Little did anyone know, just moments away, something unimaginable lurked in the shadows, waiting to be unleashed. A local woman named Sarah had been suffering from relentless pain that clung to her like a second skin. Her nights were shadowed by agony, her days a blur of desperation. Despite countless doctors and empty remedies, she felt trapped, her spirit wavering on the brink of oblivion. But today, she would embark on a journey unlike any other. The townsfolk talked in hushed tones about an unusual prayer whispered in their families for generations. Some said it was a portal to healing, others just a foolish superstition. But Sarah, desperate and determined, found herself drawn to it like a moth to flame. As she approached the old church, the wind picked up, swirling leaves around her feet in a wild dance. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her. Was it an earthquake? No, something far stranger. A low hum emanated from the weathered structure. The very air vibrated with energy, making her heart race. Close by, a child pointed towards the church, eyes wide. "Mommy, listen. It's talking." The mother shushed her, glancing around nervously, as if expecting judgment from the universe itself. What was this unseen force? Sarah shivered, suddenly doubting the logic that had guided her thus far. The church door creaked open, an ominous invitation that seemed to beckon her inside. The congregation, faces pale and eyes glazed, swayed to an unseen rhythm, chanting words that twisted in the air like smoke. They weren't just praying, they were invoking something primal and raw. Her chest tightened, fear and curiosity warring as she stepped over the threshold. Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Sarah's heart pounded like a wild drum in her chest as she drew closer. The air shimmered around the congregants, faces twisted in euphoric pain pleading for divine mercy. She caught a glimpse of a man clutching his stomach, gasping as he fell to the floor, convulsing in what looked like agony mixed with ecstasy. The scene sent chills down her spine. Was this the path to her healing or a descent into madness? Just then, in the midst of the chanting, an explosion of energy surged through the church. A blinding light flickered, illuminating the faces of the congregation with a ghostly glow. Gasps echoed off the stone walls as one by one, they turned their gaze towards Sarah. In that moment, all questions hung heavy in the air. What was about to unfold? And would she find her salvation or succumb to the darkness? A cold breeze swept through, threatening to extinguish the light as Sarah stood frozen on the edge of a great mystery, the choice hanging in the balance. The chants grew louder, each note piercing through Sarah's mind, drowning out any rational thought. It was as if the room was alive, throbbing with unearthly energy that clawed at her very being. The faces surrounding her weren't just seeking healing, they were caught in a web of fervor, their bodies moving in tandem with the pulsing force. For a fleeting second, Sarah considered fleeing, but her body betrayed her. She was rooted to the spot as if tethered by some unseen thread. A figure at the front caught her eye, towering and imposing, the source of the chants. A priest or perhaps some type of shaman, he swayed with ethereal grace, the backlight reflecting off a ceremonial staff in his hands. His eyes, dark and penetrating, seemed to see right through her, igniting a flicker of recognition. He raised the staff, and the room quieted instantly, as if the very world held its breath. "Welcome, seeker of light," his voice boomed, resonating deep within her. "You have come to unveil your truth. Are you ready to confront it?" His words danced tantalizingly at the core of her anguish. Ready? Was she ready to stare down the demons that thrived within her? Thousands of sleepless nights flashed through her mind, each memory carved with layers of pain. Her chest tightened, the lump in her throat a choking reminder of the weight she carried. "Join us," he commanded, gesturing with the staff. The congregation shifted, forming a circle that sucked Sarah in, wrapping her in an embrace both warm and suffocating. The air crackled with anticipation, the hum of hundreds of breaths mingling into a symphony of desperation and hope, but amid the sensation, something darker began to seep through the cracks. A man, still writhing on the floor, suddenly emitted a low, guttural moan that crescendoed into a scream, ripping through the euphoric atmosphere. Panic flared within Sarah, her instincts demanding she escape. But just as she turned to flee, the priest's voice sliced through her thoughts, hypnotic and binding. Pain is a currency exchanged for truth. Let it in, and it may release you. An electrifying jolt shot through Sarah's body, and she felt her knees weaken as the shadows of sorrow wrapped snugly around her heart. The sensation was both beautiful and horrifying, a paralyzing whirlwind of past grief and the hope of release. Her vision blurred, memories of laughter, loss, betrayal, and longing flashed before her, each one a thread in a tapestry of her life unraveling before her eyes. Suddenly, the glass lanterns adorning the church's walls flickered erratically, casting eerie shadows that danced like demons across the stone. The congregation, previously in a trance, snapped open their eyes, now completely focused on her. Desperation mirrored in their expressions. Were they waiting for her to take the step forward, to pour out her truth? An icy claw of dread gripped Sarah as the priest extended his hand, palm up, as if offering her a chance at salvation, or something much worse. Let the energy flow, embrace it or be consumed. His tone turned dark, heavy with a warning that echoed ominously in her ears. A struggle raged within her. Could she find freedom through acceptance of her pain? Or was this the moment she surrendered to darkness? Shadows darted around the edges of her vision, whispering secrets that pierced her resolve. Every breath felt like a battle as she faced the crossroads of her existence. In that split second, she understood something profound. This was not just about healing. This was a reckoning. Just then, as she reached out hesitantly, the ground beneath her shook violently, and the ominous tone of the bell rang out once more, shaking the very foundation of her resolve. What awaited her on this precarious path? Would she emerge whole, or would the depths of that church consume her? The moment of decision was upon her, as the walls reverberated in despair and hope, and the truth lurked dangerously close, just out of reach, waiting to be discovered. The ground trembled as if responding to a great unseen force, cracking the silence that followed the priestess' declaration. A surge of energy invaded the air, forcing Sarah back into that swirling vortex of emotion. What was happening? Thoughts flickered through her mind like static on an old TV, each one fighting for attention. She felt the congregation's eyes bore into her, their fervor almost a physical touch. Suddenly, the man on the floor convulsed again, shaking violently as if caught in a storm. A guttural roar escaped his lips, sending ripples of fear through the crowd. Let it out. Let it out. The priest boomed, raising his staff. Each word struck like thunder, heating the air until it crackled with tension. Please stop. Sarah's voice broke free, raw and desperate, echoing through the dense silence. All eyes turned to her, and for the briefest moment, the energy in the room faltered, uncertainty weaving through the tightly knit fabric of tension. The priest lowered his staff, the shadows momentarily retreating. You wish for mercy, but this is not the time for hesitation. Your truth desires to be known. Was this what she wanted? To stand before them, emotionally stripped bare, wrestling demons she had buried long ago? An assortment of emotions twined through her: shame, anger, fear. It felt like a tempest within her, turbulent and powerful. An impulse surged, one that dared her to shout her truths. Would they hear her? Would the release be worth the vulnerability? In that heartbeat, a flicker of hope ignited. Her hands trembled as she clenched them into fists, the weight of their stares becoming a sordid comfort. I've been running for so long. She shouted, the words feeling foreign yet liberating as they rolled off her tongue. A wave of shock washed over the parishioners. They leaned closer, hair-raising anticipation hanging heavy in the air. Let the pain out, commanded the priest, his voice low, coaxing, almost fatherly. You will not be alone. We are with you. Alone, Sarah echoed, her voice shaking. Isolation haunted her like a ghost. The memories cascaded: friends lost, family estranged. A lifetime spent in the shadows. Now, here in this sanctuary that pulsed with raw energy, she felt their collective intention not as intruders, but as silent witnesses to her suffering. The lanterns flickered again, and a slow, throbbing thrum pulsed from the floor through to the walls, resonating with each heartbeat, each breath. Shivers ran through her, but something else lurked behind the fear, a potent mix of strength and acceptance. "Take my pain," Sarah yelled, the confession bursting forth, raw and unrefined. "I'm done hiding. I'm ready to heal." As those words left her lips, an explosion of energy erupted around her. The room seemed to spin, the spectral aura of the congregation swirling chaotically, their cries mixing with her own. Suddenly, the world did a somersault, shadows morphed into figures, tethering her to forgotten memories. Faces materialized, each one laced with joy, sorrow, betrayal. The undeniable connections of her past peeled away layers of her very being, exposing relentless truths she couldn't outrun. The figure on the floor quieted, his screams morphing into soft whimpers, mirroring the tremors shaking Sarah to her core. The priest stepped forward again, his eyes like dark holes sucking her in. "Yes. Let it flow. Let the healing take place," he urged, urgency threading his tone. As Sarah's gaze locked with his, something shifted. The world around her blurred, and for an instant, she saw it all, the intertwined fates of those in the room, a tapestry woven together with shared pain and collective healing. They were all seekers, just like her. Beneath the intensity of the moment, a flicker of realization dawned. Could she be the catalyst? Could her confession ignite something deeper than her own healing? But just as clarity washed over her, the tremors grew into a violent quake, shaking her faith and resolve. The walls quivered, and a deafening roar erupted from the crowd. What had she unleashed? And would she find peace among the chaos, or would it consume her whole? The answer loomed, tantalizingly close, yet perilously out of reach. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as a blinding light erupted from the altar, cutting through the darkness like a knife. It illuminated the faces around her, revealing a mix of terror and awe. She felt the heat radiate off the man on the floor, the energy swirling above him like a storm cloud. The congregation gasped as the air thickened, trapping them in a web of raw power. "Stay strong," the priest yelled, his voice lost in the cacophony of energy crackling through the air. Each heartbeat seemed to thud loudly against their chests, drowning out everything else. Shadows twisted and turned, their features sharpening into visible fear as the fabric of reality began to fray. The man on the floor's body contorted again, his cries morphing into something otherworldly. "Make it stop!" Sarah shouted, panic clawing at her insides. She felt the tug of her own trauma resurface, the reliving of memories she'd fought tooth and nail to forget. Every trauma, every heartache, jolted through her like electric voltage. "Sarah!" A shaky voice broke through the chaos. It was Emma, her childhood friend, standing amidst the congregation. Tears streamed down her face, her hands twitching near her heart. "You can't let it take you." Emma's eyes were wide, pleading. "You're stronger than this." Stronger? Could she be strong enough? Their shared history wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, igniting a fire within. She had hidden from this darkness for too long. But now she felt the weight of her fears colliding with the exhilarating rush of unfiltered passion. She stared deep into the whirlwind of energy, ready to confront her demons. "I won't let you drown me." Sarah bolted forward, pushing through the blinding light. "I'm ready to face you." Her voice soared above the chaos surrounding her. The brightness flickered, and for a split second, the whirlwind stilled. Suddenly, everything shifted. She was no longer in the church, but standing on a barren landscape, a desolate expanse filled with shadows and whispers. The air was thick with the scent of ash and desperation. Sarah's heart raced as she recognized the figures emerging from the darkness, the ghosts of her past, the friends she'd lost, the family she had abandoned. "Sarah," they murmured, their voices reverberating like echoes in a long-forgotten canyon. "You left us. You ran." Their eyes held a haunting depth, piercing through her with accusations wrapped in sorrow. "No." She shook her head vigorously, fear clawing at her throat. "I was scared. I didn't know how to face it." The ground beneath her trembled in response, as if the planet itself listened in rapt attention. With every beat of her heart, the shadows grew denser, forming a wall of torment that threatened to envelop her whole. Shouting became her lifeline. I'm here now. I'll face it all.
In that moment, a thunderous roar erupted from the depths of the landscape.
Face what?
It bellowed, mixing the shadow's lament with its own malevolent energy.
Sweat poured down Sarah's back, and her hands curled into fists. My regrets. My pain. They held me captive for too long. I refuse to run.
As the words left her mouth, the shadows began to retreat, crumbling back into the darkness like forgotten dust.
Can you break the cycle? Emma's voice called in reassurance.
You've got this, Sarah. The wind stirred, and the air thickened with resolve.
With newfound strength, Sarah lifted her chin, ready to accept each shadow lurking in the corners of her mind.
She took a deep breath, feeling the support of her companions flooding back into her. But before she could break free, the ground shuddered violently. A shadowy figure burst forth from the darkness, towering over her. Its face twisted, both familiar and terrifying.
You can't escape me.
It bellowed, a deep and resonating voice that carried the weight of her worst fears. The walls of the echo chamber quivered with dread as Sarah realized this figure was not just a manifestation of her past but something darker, something more powerful. Was she prepared to face this new horror alone, or would the bond of
her community, the power of their collective healing, guide her through the inevitable confrontation?
The answer loomed, swirling with urgency, just as the shadows threatened to engulf her once more. The ground heaved again, and Sarah fell to her knees, the wind knocked out of her. The monstrous figure loomed closer, an amalgam of everything she dreaded: the shame of her choices, the pain of lost connections, the guilt that had chained her heart longer than she could remember.
Sarah!
It echoed menacingly, a voice that made her skin crawl.
Did you really think you could hide from me?
She felt a wave of panic raging through her, but a flicker of resolve sparked inside.
I'm not afraid of you. The words came out stronger than she felt.
In that moment, she was a warrior, not just a woman on a journey.
Not afraid?
The shadow sneered, snaking closer, its features morphing into faces of her past, the people she'd failed, the ones that had loved her.
You left them to suffer. Each face sparked new memories, each more painful than the last.
The fire of their betrayal sliced through her heart. I didn't leave on purpose, she cried, her voice cracking.
Life overwhelmed me. Excuses will not save you, it roared,
and the ground beneath her buckled. The congregation of shadows circled, whispering in a language that felt almost familiar yet hauntingly foreign.
Face it. Face it.
They chorused, their voices rising like a storm.
Enough.
Sarah screamed, grounding her hands into the scorched earth.
You don't define who I am.
She felt the energy thrumming through her veins, pulsating, alive. A bright light flickered within her, casting aside the darkness that threatened to engulf her. It wasn't just anger or desperation, but a surge of unyielding hope. She realized she was not alone.
Emma's face tightened with determination, her eyes fixed upon Sarah. Let the light in. Emma shouted, her voice rising above the tumult. You are loved, Sarah. You are not your past.
The shadows hesitated, as if caught in Emma's words.
What do you know?
The figure snarled. I know that strength is born from the willingness to confront pain.
Sarah shouted back, feeling Emma's unwavering presence behind her.
The bond they shared was unbreakable, a fierce thread of love that anchored her to this moment. Suddenly, the monstrous figure recoiled, but its eyes glinted with something darker.
What will you do when the truth comes?
With every heartbeat, she could feel the pulse of her resolve.
I'll embrace it, she declared. I'll accept it all.
Each word burst forth like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
I will not hide.
As the shadows writhed, something began to shift, their movements slowing as if absorbed by the light twinkling from Sarah's heart.
The ground shook less violently, the air thickening with an electric determination. Then prove it.
The figure bellowed, shaking the earth one last time.
Face your truth. Then, in an incredible rush, the shadows lunged deep toward Sarah, each one clamoring to take her down.
But she met their advance head-on, engulfing herself in a wave of blinding light, the warmth pouring from her heart spilling into every crevice of despair.
There was a moment, a heartbeat, where everything went still.
The world around her faded to a high-pitched ringing that dulled into an echo.
And then, a thought rang louder than the chaos, a painful realization that sliced through her fog. What if she wasn't just battling her past? What if this was bigger than her?
The light flickered uncertainly in her hand, and fear pounded in her chest.
Would she be brave enough to learn what that truth was? As the dark energy surged back, ready to swallow her whole, Sarah braced herself for the revelation lurking deep within what lay beyond the shadow.
In that moment, a harrowing whisper floated around her, echoed by a dozen voices. "You're not ready for the truth." And then, with one last crash, reality shattered into a million pieces. Light and darkness collided as Sarah felt herself pulled into the chaotic fragments of her reality. The air throbbed with charged energy, a pulse that resonated within her. It felt as if she was at the center of a cosmic storm, each shard of the broken world around her mirroring the turmoil inside her heart. She gasped, the breath catching in her throat like a knife. The remnants of her broken life swirled around her, childhood faces, laughter shared, moments of tragedy. They danced in a whirlwind, but the darkness remained a suffocating beast, lurking just beyond her reach.
"What do you want from me?"
she screamed into the void, her voice barely more than a whisper in the chaos.
"Everything," the monstrous figure's voice echoed, possessing an almost seductive quality.
It was a hissing whisper that sent shards of ice down her spine.
"I want you to confront every tear, every regret. I want to see you fall apart."
Desperation clawed at her, yet the flicker of light in her heart grew brighter, pushing back against the approaching shadows.
"You win. I refuse to let you control me,"
she shouted defiantly, the words resonating with newfound conviction. The darkness writhed, hissing, "You think you're stronger than your secrets?
Than your fears? It's all a lie and you know it."
The shadows unwound like smoke, coiling around her limbs, pulling her deeper into a vortex of despair.
What if the truth is too painful?
She thought, doubt seeping into her resolve like poison. The memories surged, vivid and raw: her mother's tears, her friend's abandonment, missed chances that left her heart empty. In that moment of darkness, Emma's voice broke through, cutting across the storm like a beacon of hope.
"Sarah, you've survived so much. Remember who you truly are." And as if struck by a lightning bolt, her foundation solidified. "I am not my past," she cried.
The shadows recoiled, hissing in frustration at her exclamation, but they could no longer overshadow the light she now wielded.
"I will face my truth,"
Sarah declared, her voice booming across the fragmented reality. She stood tall, refusing to be intimidated any longer. As the shadows pressed in like a tidal wave, she willed the light to expand, spilling from her heart like molten gold, illuminating the darkness that clung to her. For each painful memory conjured, she focused on the love, the friendships, the joy she had overlooked. The once familiar faces of those she thought she had betrayed transformed into radiant symbols of strength and resilience. With each beat of her heart, the light grew stronger, pushing back the dark sea surrounding her. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore, she was fighting for everyone she had ever cared about, everyone she thought she had let down. Suddenly, the people she loved, the ones lost to the shadows, began to emerge, their smiles breaking through the haze, their arms reaching out to her.
"We're here, Sarah. Don't lose hope. You are not alone."
As their energy melded with hers, the darkness screamed, a sound haunting enough to shatter glass.
"You cannot escape your truth," it bellowed.
But Sarah felt something shift, a crack in the shadowy facade that threatened her life. She dug deep within, determined to break free.
What if this moment meant more than a fight?
What if confronting her darkness could illuminate the path to freedom, the path to healing? The answer loomed in front of her through the break in the storm, the truth, looming large like a juggernaut, awaiting her.
Would she step forward into the revealing light?
A deep breath filled her lungs, but even as she prepared to take that leap, a chilling realization hit her.
The shadows were fading, but what if the truth she faced wasn't what she expected? What happens when I discover what lies beneath?
As her heart raced, the ground beneath her feet trembled once more, and she felt herself teeter on the edge of revelation. A sudden wave of energy surged through her, like ocean currents pulling her under as the ground trembled furiously. The truth, a massive shadow, dark and undulating, moved closer, and fear clutched at her heart. The people she loved flickered, their faces shifting between smiling encouragement and anguished expressions, as if the reality around her could not decide which way to bend.
Sarah. Emma's voice pierced through the chaos again. You must not let fear blind you. You are stronger than this.
With every ounce of willpower, Sarah focused on that light, the warmth that radiated from deep within her. She felt it flickering against the shadows, like tiny stars winking into life amidst a midnight sky.
It pushed against the encroaching darkness, but she feared it might not be enough. What if the truth shatters me? She thought, and right away, the monstrous figure laughed. It was a hideous sound, a cruel celebration of her doubt. Your light will falter. Secrets are not meant to be uncovered. The darkness swirled violently, the very essence of despair trying to constrict her. But, recalling Emma's words, she surged forward, the light within her brimming with possibility. I won't let you break me. She yelled, the sound echoing fiercely in the void. And with that declaration, she stepped into the glowing fissure before her, the light pulsating, illuminating everything around. Each step felt heavier, as if the weight of every secret clung to her, dragging her down. But as she plugged deeper into her core, fleeting glimpses of truth flashed like lightning across her thoughts, the night her mother had cried on the porch, the day her best friend turned away, the moment she chose silence over confrontation. Each memory confronted her, wild and untamed, demanding recognition. Face me. The dark figure roared, a tidal wave gathering its strength. You think you're ready? You think light will protect you from me? With the memories blending into a fierce maelstrom of emotion, she stomped her foot, declaring her own presence. I am done running. I am ready to fight. The air crackled with newfound energy, and as the world around morphed into a silhouette of shadows and light, she felt the fierce pull of hope rise in her chest. A soft, radiant glow enveloped her friends as they filled her with strength. Their faces in the brilliance pulsed like the beat of a heart, and she understood they were a part of her truth. But just as the shadows began to buckle under the weight of her determination, something shifted. A sudden realization hit her like a meteor. The truth she was trying to face wasn't simply a past she could confront, it was also a choice she had to make, to forgive herself, to release the chains of guilt. A shivering breath caught in her throat. What if, buried in the dark, there lay a truth she could neither bear nor accept? Was she ready to unearth that pain? Suddenly, the monstrous figure lunged, shifting grotesquely as it whispered a new command: embrace the pain that defines you, let it consume you. With a jolt, she felt her spirit wavering, her heart hammering. Could she truly unearth what lay hidden without succumbing to despair? Everything teetered on a precipice, darkness on one side and vibrant light on the other. And as she prepared for the choice that could either destroy or liberate her, a chilling voice filled the air. Are you prepared for the truth, Sarah? Are you ready to face what lies beneath? Her heart raced, weighty and uncertain. She felt one final tremor beneath her feet, and in that split second, everything hung in the balance. Just as the monstrous figure lunged forward, Sarah felt the world around her blur, a dizzying whirl of light and shadow. Her breath quickened, her chest tight as the dark presence loomed ever closer, its whispers spiraling around her, suffocating. She could almost feel the weight of its truth pressing down, a leaden burden of all she had hidden away. Don't back down, Emma's voice echoed through the tumult, washing over her like a soothing balm. You are more than your fears. The flickering light inside her intensified, burning bright against the engulfing dark. She could see it now, a small spark glowing defiantly in the shadows. The memories surged, each one coming into sharp focus. Her mother's sorrowful eyes, the betrayal of a friend, a haunting silence that slithered into abandoned conversations. Face those who haunt you. The dark figure bellowed, its eyes a pair of swirling abysses filled with malice. They will consume you. You are not strong enough to bear it. But Sarah squared her shoulders, feeling the warmth of her friends surrounding her again. No more running, she thought. No more hiding. I will break this cycle, she shouted, her voice ringing, firm and unyielding. With every ounce of strength she could muster, she charged toward the shadowy figure, arms outstretched, ready to embrace both the pain and the truth that twisted within her. Each step felt like a battle against a force that sought to drag her back into despair. Embrace it. The voice taunted, tendrils of darkness reaching out like claws, attempting to snag her in their grasp.
The chill they carried seeped into her bones, whispering the stories of her past mistakes, her failures, her fears. It was a cacophony designed to paralyze, to break her spirit, but the more she pushed forward, the more clarity she found.
I am not defined by you, she declared fiercely, the light inside illuminating her path even brighter.
It burned away the shadows, each flick of illumination illuminating paths she had once feared to tread, each scar a badge of survival. Suddenly, time froze. A silence so complete enveloped her, and in that hush, a figure emerged. It was her younger self, full of innocence yet marred by worry.
Help me, the little girl cried. I don't want to be afraid anymore. Tears sprang to Sarah's eyes as reality struck.
I'm here, she whispered, kneeling down to hold her younger self.
We can face this together. With that, she felt the chains of guilt crack and fall away, each shard glimmering and vanishing into the ether. The dark figure hissed, its form wavering. The light expanded, swallowing the shadow whole. Your words cannot bind me.
It growled as the light reached a blinding intensity. It clawed at the edges, struggling to retain its shape, but began to fade, melting into the air surrounding them. The silence returned. Breathless and filled with adrenaline, Sarah steadied herself. The weight that had pressed upon her chest began to lift.
Emma and her friends radiated warmth, their smiles carrying reassurance, a promise of solidarity and understanding. Sarah, look. Emma pointed.
Ahead, a door formed, shimmering and pulsing with golden light. The air around it thrummed with energy, the hope that had once felt lost now tangible and fiercely alive.
Is that?
Sarah took a tentative step forward, her heart racing with a cocktail of fear and exhilaration.
Yes.
On the other side lies your freedom, Emma urged, her eyes urging her forward.
Do you dare to step through?
But before Sarah could answer, a shadow darted from the corners of her vision, lingering in the edges, threatening to engulf the light surrounding her.
Leave her be. Emma shouted, but the darkness coiled tighter, whispering venomous secrets, tugging at Sarah's doubts. Was she truly free? Would stepping through that door unleash even greater horrors?
As she stood at the threshold, the thrill of adventure mingled with chilling fear. Could the truth she found on the other side bring healing or further destruction? Her hand hovered over the door, pulse quickening, as she took a breath laden with uncertainty.
Would she embrace this next challenge? Or let the shadows come again?
With a mind racing and heart screaming, she pushed the door open. The door swung open with a resonating creak, spilling light into the darkness like a sunrise breaking through a long night. Sunbeams danced around her, their warmth wrapping around her skin, dissolving the last remnants of fear still clinging to her heart. But as she stepped forward, the air crackled with tension, a warning that her journey had merely shifted gears.
What's happening? Sarah murmured, barely able to process the shift in atmosphere. Emma took a step closer, her face a mask of concern. It's too quiet. That can't be good.
Inside, the space unfolded like a dreamscape, glowing walls pulsing to the rhythm of her heart. Yet shadows swirled like smoke, still lingering smugly in the corners, as if waiting for her to slip. This feels wrong, Sarah whispered, scanning the ethereal space, searching for hidden dangers amidst the light. Suddenly, the pulse echoed louder, a pulse that seemed to sync with her own, faster and faster, beating like a drum signaling impending chaos. Before she could react, the door slammed behind her. The sound reverberated in the silence, a sharp reminder of her isolation.
Sarah! Emma gasped, we need to find a way back. But Sarah's instincts kicked in. No! We can't go back.
I have to see what this place has to offer. Her voice shook with determination, fueled by an inner fire that burned brighter than any shadow could extinguish. As they stepped into a larger chamber, the brilliance of the light dimmed slightly, allowing them to see intricate designs etched on the walls. Figures of people swirling in motion, their faces a mix of joy and despair. It was a narrative carved in time, lending a haunting beauty to the stark reality of their surroundings.
What is this place? Emma wondered aloud, tracing her fingers against the figures. It feels like memories.
Maybe this is where all our fears and dreams converge, Sarah mused, feeling the weight of her thoughts circle around her like a hawk waiting to dive. Before they could delve deeper, a low growl rumbled from the far end of the chamber. The figure that emerged from the shadows sent a shiver crawling up Sarah's spine. It was a darker version of her, twisted and snarling, eyes narrowed with malice. "Welcome, Sarah," it hissed, the voice a haunting mockery of her own.
"Did you really think you could escape me? I am your doubt, your guilt. I am everything you ran from to get here. You cannot deny me." Sarah's legs felt like lead, yet she pushed forward, chin up. "You don't control me. I'm ready to face you.
Face everything I've hidden, whether it's pain or strength."
"You think strength is all you need? Look around you."
The dark figure gestured dismissively to the memories dancing on the walls.
"These are the people you've failed. They will drown you if you let them." A chilling laugh echoed in the chamber, throwing Sarah off balance.
Panic gnawed at her resolve, but Emma stepped in front of her, a single, powerful hand raised.
"We won. Let you take her."
Emma yelled, her voice a fierce challenge ringing against the walls.
"Sarah is not alone." In that moment, the air thickened, vibrating with the clash of opposing forces. The light around the twisted figure flickered, cracks began to form in its facade. Sarah could feel hesitation in its stance. "Do you hear your friends?" it taunted. "They can't save you this time."
But a flicker of hope ignited in Sarah's heart. "Together we're stronger." She felt something shift within her, an urge to rally the truth of her past, turning it into armor. As she took a step closer, the cold tension of fear melted, replaced by a grounding strength that rose up like an unyielding tide. Everyone she loved surged into her mind, their support wrapping around her like a shield.
"I will stand my ground. You can't take me down,"
she shouted, the walls vibrating with the force of her declaration. The twisted figure faltered, its form shimmering like broken glass. But just as Sarah prepared to confront it fully, the ground beneath them trembled violently.
Splintering cracks raced across the floor, drawing gasps from Emma and others around. Horror.
Then, without warning, the world around them began to spiral again, the walls and memories shredding away into a deep blackness.
"Sarah!"
Emma screamed, reaching for her, but the pull was insistent and unyielding.
What was happening?
The swirling mass began to close in, an all-consuming void that threatened to engulf them whole. Was she losing it all, or was this a test, one last challenge before she could fully embrace her freedom? As reality warped around her, Sarah fought against the darkness, desperately searching for a light in the chaos.
Would she be able to break free completely, or would this new plunge take her somewhere worse than before?
The uncertainty loomed, swirling, leaving questions hanging heavy in the air. The darkness consumed Sarah, pulling her into a swirling abyss of fear and doubt. As everything around her fractured, she felt an intense pressure on her chest, squeezing the breath from her lungs.
"This can't be it,"
she shouted, reaching out with trembling fingers caught in the invisible grip.
Desperation surged through her. "I refuse to let go. Not now." And then she remembered. Emma's voice cut through the void. A beacon of hope. "You've got this, Sarah. We're right here with you."
In that moment, the warmth of her friends filled her heart, and suddenly the shadows faltered, revealing flickers of light bursting forth like stars in the night sky.
"Fight back!"
she screamed, focusing on the love that had anchored her all along. The memories, the laughter, the support, the resilience came rushing back like a tidal wave, swelling against the dark tide. The shapes began to take form around her, the faces of those she had mourned, her family, her lost friends, each one echoing their support.
"Remember us, Sarah,"
they called, their voices rising in a harmonious chant that clashed against the discord of despair.
"We are here. You are not lost." With newfound strength, Sarah pushed against the pulling darkness.
The light within her pulsed, expanding with every shout, amplifying her resolve.
"I will face you,"
she yelled, locking eyes with her dark counterpart.
"You think you can withstand the truth?"
it hissed, shadows swirling around its form.
"I won't back down,"
she cried fiercely.
"I will not let you define me."
The darkness recoiled, momentarily faltering at her defiance.
"You're just a little girl playing with fire,"
it sneered, but uncertainty dripped from its tone. Drawing from the power of her friends, Sarah stepped forward, guided by the collective energy of their shared memories. The merging of her past and present infused her with clarity. The shadows now felt more like a memory than a reality.
I'm who I choose to be,
she declared, and as her voice echoed, the dark figure began to waver, flickering in and out, almost imploding on itself. In its eyes, fear sparked.
No! You can't escape. A rush of courage flooded through Sarah, crashing into her like a wave.
She wouldn't allow the shadows to win, wouldn't let fear propel her any longer.
You want my truth? She shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. Here it is. I was lost, yes. But I found my way back. I am loved, I am strong. And I will not be defeated.
With each word, the shadow shrieked, an agonizing howl swirling around her, and the darkness began to dissipate, unraveling in plumes of smoke. As the last threads of despair faded, the air returned to life.
Brightness flooded the space, revealing the shimmering doorway she'd walked through. The memories danced around her like fireflies, vibrant in their beauty. Emma appeared beside her, holding out her hand. You did it, Sarah. You faced it. Now let us walk through together.
With one final glance back at the remnants of her fears, Sarah nodded, feeling lighter than she had in years. Together, they crossed the threshold. On the other side, warmth enveloped them as they stepped into a radiant landscape, sunlight pouring over their skin like a gentle caress. Welcome home, Emma said softly, tears of joy glistening in her eyes. Sarah smiled, the heaviness of her past lifting more with each passing moment.
I finally understand, healing is a journey. And I'm ready to embrace mine.
The shadows of yesterday bowed to the brilliance of today. As they ventured forward, Sarah felt the unwavering support of her friends, the lessons learned, and the freedom earned like a precious badge. They laughed together, a melody of hope echoing in the air, as whispers of a brighter future carried them toward new beginnings. This was not the end but the start of something extraordinary. Sarah had faced the darkness and reclaimed her truth. As they walked into the light, one thought flooded her mind: I will always rise.
Now it's your turn. If you loved this conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear your reactions and theories about the ending in the comments section. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your actions matter. Let us keep the momentum going.